cloud. I don't think that Becky was able to. Let's give her a second here. See if I click. Oh, there she is. Nope. I think she's having internet issues. One of the few. Oh, there she is. Okay.
My
so,
internet is really sketchy today, so make sure you record, please.
Oh, I definitely am. And I'm going to keep you on mute because we have that concert going next door.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, and here it goes. But yes, I when you logged on, I remembered that I needed to push record. So, I think we're in good shape. It's recording, and we're all good. And I'm going to move. Let's see. I'm going to kind of move this over here, maybe, so I can see both things at once. Let's see here. I'm going to just kind of, luckily I have two screens and can kind of, okay. So, let me see here. Let me get that on top. Just in case somebody, I need to get this over on so I can see things out of my peripheral vision if somebody's trying to, whoops, sorry about that. Somebody's trying to log in late. Okay. So if you'll recall, what I was talking about was we have this kind of dark area down here that's somewhat shadow, but also we have some kind of shrubbery up here that has a little bit of light in it. So I don't want to go too dark too fast for these little bushy shapes that are kind of like these out here. And then we want to be able to kind of come in here and add a little more texture to these areas as well. And we won't have to, I don't know if you could see that at all, or if my hand was in the way. But these kind of lighter areas, we want to add some more kind of texture as well. Okay, so I am going to use my number 8 round. And quick spritz with some water to get my paint re-wet. I wet it before class started, but then I got a fan going and it seemed to dry it out pretty good. Okay, so here we go. What I'm going to do is start. I want to do a little bit of this foreground. So I'm going to start on this kind of bushy shape. And I don't know if you guys can see the pencil drawing through there. It may be a little bit closer than I wanted. I actually may want it a little bit bigger than what I have. But that's okay. That pencil line's just there for as a suggestion. And it just kind of remind me of some of the elements that I want going on in there. Okay. So let's see. Brush wet. It was dried solid there. And I think what I'm going to do is actually grab a little bit of permanent green number 1. And I'll see if I can show you what I'm doing here. Permanent green number 1. And I'm going to mix that with a little of this. I had some lemon yellow here, and I also had some of that permanent yellow deep right next to it. And you can see it's kind of making a little bit lighter version of like sap green. So I'm going to use a little of that up in this area where we're going to catch a little bit of light on the tops of these bushy shapes. And I'm going to go ahead and bring it up a little further than I originally did. And I'm not too worried about these pencil lines showing. Eventually, you know, this is fairly dark down here. And even if they're visible, people won't notice them. Let's see, put a little more, I think, this over here. And that ought to do it. Because once I get over into here, I have these kind of fence things. So now I'm going to move to a little hooker's green and just start letting that kind of bleed in. Just this lighter. It's still, you know, quite dark compared to the lemon yellow deep, or orange. What is it? Permanent yellow orange. No, permanent yellow deep. I get these names right here in a second. That mix of lemon yellow, permanent yellow deep, and permanent green into one. It's a fair amount darker than that, but it's a lot lighter than say this dark up here. And all I'm doing is just kind of, I can see that I'm going to completely clean my brush. I can see that my yellow green mix up here kind of blended it. You know, it dried too much, so I just need to get it wet again to get these blend a little bit better. And yeah, that's kind of the start for that. These are just little bushy shapes. And then what I'm going to do is move into a little hooker's green blue mix, and that's where you could mix anything from hooker's green with royal blue, Prussian blue, Antwerp blue, indigo, whatever you want to use or have. Any of those will work to make a nice blue, you know, fairly dark blue green. And I'm going to just bring that down in here and let that bleed up into there a little bit. And bleed into that. And down here, I want to just sort of soften this. This is all mostly going to be in shadow. Unless I decide to put a little bit of light in there, which I don't think I will, because I'm still fairly close to the bottom here. I don't have a lot of real estate left for that little sliver of light. I don't think it's necessary. I'm going to have a fair amount up in here. I didn't like how harsh that was, so I'm just going to kind of lighten it first thing. I'm using my brush where I didn't want it to go. And I can even come back in here and add just a hint of either, you know, like permanent yellow deep, or this, what was it, this azo yellow that I have, or the Indian yellow. I could come in and add just a skosh of that just to help have some of these areas pop a little bit. So we'll let that kind of do its thing. But then, as I get there, you can see this line that I've got forming here. Just soften this whole bit, because this is most, you know, that's going to all be shadow down in there. Yeah. Okay. I'm liking that. That's kind of looking sagey and sagey brushy. I could even come in if I wanted to, and I think I do. I'm going to grab a little peacock blue and just throw that in just to give it a little bit of a blue-green hint, kind of like sage or chamisa or something like that. And that's, you know, it's not that much of it. There's not a lot of it there, but just a little hint of that kind of blue-green gray. Let's see. Yeah, that little line there, and just want to soften that coming off of the, which now looks like it's white because there's a wee bit of glare from the water, but that's actually kind of a bit more of that green blue, you know, the hooker's green blue mix. Nice thing about this is where we start getting some of this, it gives that nice kind of sagey gray look right there as that dries. Yeah, so I think I'm fairly happy with that. I want that to dry before I do too much with it, with this shadow down here. So what I'm going to do is now switch to my number 6 brush because I'm going to be working up in here. And I want to just add some more variety of color. And because most, you know, I was dealing with a big wash. So it's mostly that kind of orangey, that yellow deep that's right in here. And so I want a little bit more variety in color. I was using a much bigger brush than this before, so this will help kind of pull in some of those other colors. So I think what I'm going to start with, partially because in the original photo, you know, they had those houses that were way back in here, but they added a hint of kind of a pink to that. I don't want to paint those houses. I don't think it's necessary to tell this story. But I do like that hint of that, you know, kind of opera-y, whatever, kind of pink. So I'm going to grab a little of that and just kind of put on a little texture with some of that, and grab just a wee bit more and put it over here. Put some down, and then what I do is just completely clean my brush, and then just move, kind of using the side of my brush. So if you imagine that this side of my finger is a paper, I'm pressing down like that to put these little tick mark kind of things with water around this color. So you can see that it flattens out a little bit. Now let's go with a little, I'm going to use actually a little with this, forgot what this is, sap green, which I'll show you on my palette. It's this kind of earthy green, but I'm going to kind of tone it down a little bit with a little lemon yellow. So I get kind of an earthier version of the permanent green #1 mixed with lemon yellow. So it's a little earthier, but very similar in value. So I want to kind of pull some of that in here. So we're just going to put some in there, move that around, and then clean my brush out and kind of do a very similar thing to what I was doing with that pink. I don't have to do a lot. I'm going to and really all I'm doing is just kind of making interesting little marks with the side of my brush. And then I can choose where I want. I can pick that back up with kind of a thirsty brush. And then I can and I think what I'm going to do is bring in a little permanent yellow orange as well with that. I know that sounds weird, having that earthy green and then the orange, but you can see that you get this really interesting kind of contrast between the two. And really all I'm doing is adding a little more texture and color variance in these areas. Let's go back to some of that pink. And that actually was permanent rose. It wasn't opera that I was using, but opera would work fine if you don't have permanent rose and you do have opera. Or if you have some other kind of light kind of pink, interesting color, just adds that kind of the idea of those little seed heads that are on top of grasses and stuff, kind of have that look. Maybe I'll come in with a little pyro orange, just with a little salmon orange color in here. Pull that up into there. Come in over here with a little more of that on top of that. We'll just kind of salmon orange. And I don't know that it's really visible what I'm doing, but if I pull this down, it's really just adding texture and color variation. Let's come in with a little of the regular orange stuff here, which is permanent yellow orange. So I don't know where I got that from. Let's see. Pulling a little more of that here just for color variation. We're not going to get much texture out of it, but I'm going to get a little bit of variation in the color, which is just as important, I think. Let's come over here with some of this that permanent or quinacridone rose. Pretty dry. And again, all this is just different colors that work with this idea of grassy fields and brushy fields. And I'll come back with that. And then the texture that goes with that as well. Sorry, I lost my train of thought and had to find it. Let's see. Just gonna add a little more of that green. That's the sap green mixed with lemon yellow that I mixed up. I just want to kind of come in with a little of that, so it's kind of a nice continuation through there. Oops, can't see what I'm doing. I'm going to start working over here a little bit. Just adding a little of that light green. And maybe now come in with a little of the permanent yellow orange. Kind of like we did over here. Let that kind of bleed into that. Pick some of this back up. But you can see I'm getting a really pretty good texture on that. Let's go in with a little, I'm going to use a little alizarin crimson, I think. which is a fairly nice, that's this guy here. It looks like it's kind of a purple in the light, but it's really more of a deeper kind of rose color. So put this up here real quick. And I'm going to bring some of that in around. I know that that's opera right there that I was using. So I just want to add a little bit darker, kind of pink, reddish pink hue to that in some areas. Pull some of that down into that green. I like that texture that happened there by accident. I didn't really plan that. So that's kind of fun. Back in with a little of that. That just gives it kind of a nice little glow. And then let's go back to that green, that sap green lemon yellow mix. Let's kind of pull some of that in as well. I'm not too worried as I get down in here if I go over those lines, because this all will be fairly dark and it'll kind of cover up anything. I don't want any real sharp lines, because sometimes those are hard to cover up, but I do want, you know, a little bit. So I'm just adding a little more texture over there in on the side here. Switching back and forth between that alizarin crimson and the permanent yellow orange. Just to pop more of color. Maybe just a bit more of that. Sap green, lemon yellow mix. More of that green. That to kind of blend with the orange. And add some more of that orange down in here. Yeah, and if I kind of zoom in on this, you can see there's you know, it doesn't really look like much of anything other than just texture. But as we come back out, we'll see that it starts to look like, feel like a meadow or field or whatever. You know, it's just kind of what we're going for here. We've got a little more variation in color. I could even come in with almost a little this kind of purple gray, which is quinacridone violet, and that's this right here. And what I've done is just watered that down just so there's a few more little spots that are slightly dark, that have just a bit more depth to them. So that was I never finished telling you what that mix was. That was that quinacridone violet and indigo mix, which was high on the indigo side. So it really graded down. And then I added just a hint of Hooker's green to kind of gray it. Spots here and there. And it just adds more, like I said, texture. I want to kind of brighten that up. I like the gray, you know, that kind of grayed down bit right there, but I want to add a little pop of color to the top of that, I think, just right in there. Maybe even a little bit more of this orange. So I've got that nice, kind of interesting dark, and then this is a little darker. Maybe there's a bit of shadow or something on that. Yeah, I kind of like that. Oops. Sorry about that. I accidentally hit the go to sleep button when I was trying to push this back into frame. It's a new phone, and it's the little button's a little bit lower on the phone than my previous phone. But the camera's a little better, so I'm hoping that that helps with this class a little bit. So I'm just going to add a little opera and a little permanent rose. That's what I started out with, permanent rose. Quinacridone rose. No, I think it was permanent rose. And then a little opera just down here. Just to give that nice contrast with the green. And this is feeling dry enough now where I feel like I can come in and kind of start adding a little bit of this shadow that I want going along here. And so I'm going to switch back to, actually I'm going to switch to my number 10 round. And sort of start on that. And for this, I want to use, you know, obviously I kind of want to use some dark greens and stuff, but I also want to break that dark green up with some other colors. So I want to use, you know, I want to use some violets and maybe even a touch of you know, maybe even a touch of orange in there. We'll see. But I'm also going to use some blues, and so I'm going to start off with that. If you recall, that mix of Hooker's green and indigo. I think in my case it was indigo. A little heavier on the indigo, but if you're using royal blue or Antwerp blue or Prussian blue, any of those will do. So I'm going to start with a little of that, and just come over here and paint a little bit of this shadow in here, and then try and kind of bring it up a little bit into this bush. Before I go too far though, I want to switch to a little quinacridone violet blue mix. And I'm actually just going to pull a little bit of that color that I just mixed that, or liquefied. I'm going to pull that over into, see, I can already tell this is drying really fast. That. So, and now I want to use a little, let's see, this is quinacridone magenta. I want just a bit of a lighter. So if you had a permanent rose or a alizarin crimson or something, that'd be a good spot to use this. I'm just going to add a little bit of a lighter part to that, just so it's a variation in color. And then maybe now I'm going to move over into a little peacock blue. I want to pull a little of that over here. So I'm just going to drop a little peacock blue right in there. And then come in with a little more over here. So, and let's go back to this violet kind of. Soften the top of this because I want to come back in and kind of deal with these bushes a little bit later. So I don't want them quite as sharp an edge up there as I was getting. Let's come back with some of that green. That little, oops, that's not what I wanted. That's what is this? Dioxazine something purple or something I accidentally grabbed. It's just a dark purple. Not really what I wanted, but that's okay. I was looking at this. For some reason, I was looking at that while I was thinking about this this dark purple I mixed, which is really good. Let's come up here and soften this out a little bit. And we'll just kind of keep moving. So I just grabbed a little peacock blue, and I'm going to pull that over in here. So, and then maybe some of that violet that I mixed up. Heck, I don't even mind how that purple color there works. So I might grab a little of that. Just kind of, that may be a little too bright for the corner here, but that's all right. Just kind of, I think I want a little bit of this. I really like how this orange is kind of glowing in there, and I want to do a little of that over here, I think. So I'm going to grab a little of that permanent yellow deep or orange and just drop in some of that. It gives this, it'll give this, it'll give this shadow a nice little bit of a glow on the edge in some spots. So that's what's going on there. Soften that there. We add a little bit more of that. So yeah. And what I can do is I can actually, as that's kind of doing its thing, I can actually, as this is kind of drying, I can, let's shape there. I can come back in and add these fence posts. So what I want to do is kind of lighten this side because the sun's coming from here. So I'm just going to lift out. You can see where I'm lifting out a little color right in here. Just like that. And I don't really care if I lift all of it out. It's not a big deal. And I'm not too concerned with lifting that out. But that's really the only spot where I need to lift out. What I'm going to do is now come in with a little permanent yellow deep, just to add a little bit of a glow to this side. I want it to have a twinge of, there's a glare on that, so let me kind of come down here. I want it to have a twinge of that color, that green in there. So let me kind of get that on here. And then I want a little bit over here as well, just to and then we'll deal with the rest later. I just wanted to add kind of a little bit of wash on that. We'll let that dry. Yeah. I'm trying to limit the use of my hairdryer because I don't want to disturb those guys on the other side. I'm kind of working around some things.
Can you slow down just a little bit?
Yeah, would you like me to, Jackie Phelps, would you like me to kind of stop for a second? That'll give this a chance to dry. And I can let you guys catch up if you want. Does that sound like a good plan?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, I'll take a little break here and can you guys hear the music at all?
No.
Well, it's not playing. You couldn't hear it earlier when it was playing?
A little bit earlier.
It's a lot quieter than I think because of that sort of divider thing they put up. It's a lot quieter than it was last week when I was listening to him practice. But yeah, I'll let you guys kind of catch up while this dries a little bit, so I don't. I don't disturb the concert with the hairdryer. I'm good. How are you? Well, just teaching my class, waiting for my students to catch up with me. How about you?
I'm ready whenever you are. I'm ready whenever anybody else is.
All right, you guys are ready to get back at it?
Yes.
Right. Okay, so let's see. Where were we? We were working on this this fence. Now, if you're not doing a fence like Kathy Gibbs, I know you're not doing a fence. You have a tree. You can kind of ignore this part or tuck it away for a different project. But I'm going to come back in now with those darks, and I think I want to use similar darks to what I've got going on down here, which I may want to make darker eventually. But I'm going to come in with I'll just kind of rotate this. I'm going to come in with let's see, I've got a little indigo, and let's pull in a little quinacridone violet. That gives me a nice dark purple. And then let's add a little indigo to this green mix that I've got going on over here, which is not quite as dark. And then we'll probably do a thing where we've got kind of both of these mixed together to get an even darker kind of gray. But it'll be a nice vibrant gray. Okay. So I'm gonna just kind of come in with this here and cover up a lot of what's going on there. You notice, I mean, I didn't put a lot of effort into painting behind there, but let's see, that was violet. Let's move into a little bit. And all I'm doing is kind of painting this dark edge of this post. The violet. So kind of midway through, I had the violet, and then I picked up a little of the green, and then a little more of the violet, and then back into the green. You don't necessarily have to do it that many times. I just was kind of playing around with both of the colors. And then here in a minute, when this dries a little bit, I'll come over and soften that edge. But I want it to be a little bit dry so I get a bit of a sharper, a hint of a sharper line back in there. So this one, let's see, I'm just going to kind of come in here. I know that I've got this guy coming in here. So shadow. Really want this to be. Really didn't pull that down long enough, but what I can do is that down into there. I can pull a little more off, lift a little more out of there if I want it later. Let's see, how do I want to do this one? I'm going to pick up a little of the green. This one's going to have a little bit of a lighter side on the top. So all I'm going to do is paint it in later. And then I've got this weird, it's kind of a broken down fence here anyway. So I'm not worried about the light side. I am going to put in a little of the violet down here on the bottom of this fence post. Or I should say the side, but let's see. Just kind of thicken this up a little bit. Kind of there. And that is what's holding that up. And then I'll come in this. Also, stop it right there. Pull it around to the other side. And right now, this doesn't look much like anything other than, well, I mean, it mimics a falling down fence, but it doesn't really. It's not really. It doesn't look quite realistic yet, but it'll get there. So as that softens, or as that dries, I can come in here and soften this a little bit, just to give it that kind of round fence post. Come back in, lift a little, and that's got a pretty bad glare. So let me pull this down here so you can see. Yeah, I may have gotten a little too much water up there, but as that dries, I can kind of deal with that. We'll just kind of put a light wash over that yellow, and that'll give me that kind of lighter side that's still in the shadow. As we get down into here, we're going to want to take that even darker than what I've got it so far. So that was that kind of purple mix. Now I just have indigo down in here. What I may want to do is fiddle with that shadow a little bit more. I don't know, we'll see later how I feel about it. I think I'm going to bring just a little bit of indigo over here. That's still wet. See how that bleeds around into that really wet area there. Some of that violet. So I know on camera this all looks black, but that's a little violet, a little indigo. There. I find it difficult to hold the camera and paint at the same time. One would think I could do that since one is in one hand and one is in the other hand. And I'm not that gifted. So I'm going to put a little bit of a hint of a shadow on the bottom side of this. These kind of cross pieces. Not that you might see that much of it, but just kind of soften this and pull some of that over that yellow that I painted. So it's not quite as bright. Little violet. It looks like all I used was that green mix instead of the blue-green mix instead of some of the violet mix. But I know I used some of the violet up here, but I think it needs a little bit more. So what I'm going to do down that up a bit. And I need to come over here and kind of add into light. And it may look like I'm doing more than I need to, and I am, but I want to lift some of this back out and put a little bit of dark back into it. Light right in there. Then we'll come back in maybe with that violet mix. So it's just a little bit different than this board here. Just sort of bring that around and curve, a slight curve. And then I want the rest of this fairly dark. And then as we get down into, go to a little blue-green, as we get down into here, this is another level of shadow that's up closer to where we are in the foot, where the viewer is. So it's even more so like that. And really all this is just, kind of thinking about the shapes that I want. And go ahead and add a hint of light along this edge. And then kind of creating those shapes. Didn't lighten quite as much as I wanted it to, but I was trying to be careful and not get overheated. Sorry about that, guys. I dropped the phone. Dangerous of not actually locking it into cradle. Sorry about that. What I want to do, this is looking a little weird here, so I just want to come back in. So bit of so I lifted a little out of there, and it's a little fuzzy because the I smeared a little wet on the other paint, but that's okay. I'm gonna just add a little hint of this yellow, if I can get some brush, there we go, to this kind of edge here. And I need to do the same kind of lift right here. And instead of using a washcloth, what I need to do is just kind of, just use the edge of my brush, and then come back in with a little of that highlight. A little more highlight up in here. And I know I'm painting this yellow over something that's already there, but it'll add just a hint of that glow to it by doing that. Your glow down in there. Yeah. And I'll come back in and add wire to this, some barbed wire looking stuff to this here later. I don't want to. Here I'm just lifting a little more of the light out. Right in there just to get a little more of that. And then I can come back in with that yellow on top of that. Get a bit of that glow. It'll look kind of greenish, but that's okay. That's what kind of what I want. Just kind of zoom in so you can see. It's just kind of a greeny yellow. But that gives me enough light catching on that post that it starts to feel like it's really coming all the way down and sort of sinking into that ground there. Yeah. Okay. So I want to come in and add, so I have this kind of shadow here, but I want to kind of come in and add some really darks in these bushy things here. So again, I'm going to use a little indigo, or you can use royal blue. And I may pick up a little green. I'm creating a kind of a puddle over here on top of that green. So it may have a little bit of green and a little bit of violet in it, but it's really just on top. So it's mostly that indigo. But if it has a little green or violet in it, that's okay too, because that's what this shape is made of. And I'm just going to kind of come in here and start making this look like some darker things inside this bush here. There's some nice rich darks in there. maybe I will mix in just a hint of violet now, just over it here, maybe just for a variation in color. Nice. Gives that a little volume now by adding that. Let me grab a little of the blue here. Pull that in over here. I've got some violet right there. I want to pull this way. And really, that's all I'm doing here is just kind of creating some darker darks within these kind of shrubby shapes. And I want to add a few up into there as well. And then I want to actually kind of make this a bit darker in here. And I really should switch to a larger brush. I was using my number 6. I'm just going to grab some indigo here and a little Hooker's green for this part right here. And cross like that. And then a little violet and indigo here. Just to darken that up a bit. So you can see I still have that kind of nice color kind of glowing through there. But I've kind of darkened that quite a bit. So it's a little more on par with these darks that are going on up here. What I do need to do, I think, is just had a thought. I've got trying to get rid of that glare there. Where was I going with that? Oh, I want to bring a little more green into this up in here. So I'm going to grab a little permanent green number 1 and maybe a little lemon yellow. That's a little dark. Change the shape. I'm not real crazy about that shape that I've got going on there. It may be that I also don't worry about it too much, but I just want to add a little bit of that. I felt like it needed a little more green, a little less of that gold that I put on there. You know, it was a permanent yellow deep, but you know, it was kind of a gold. And it just felt like it needed to be a little more on the light green side versus what I had. I'm not super crazy about this shape, but I think once I kind of finish up, that'll be not that visible. It won't be that noticeable. Yeah. So I do want to bring in a little of that indigo Hooker's green mix and a little bit of that. I've got some in here already, but I just want a few little specks of really dark. Let me see if I can zoom in on that so you can really see what I'm talking about. Just adding just a hint more dark. Breaking up that shape. And really, I'm just making little tick marks. I'm barely putting any pressure on the tip of my brush. So I'm just barely pushing down to get these little tick marks. Over here. I don't want to cover up all those kind of medium darks that I have going on there. I want some of those to stay. So just a wee bit of, and then maybe I'll clean my brush and get a little bit lighter green, kind of pull some of this shadow across. Here. Just kind of see what I'm doing. So I added that kind of bit. One of this dark up in here. And got out for some reason. Can you guys hear me okay? I should have asked that ahead of time, but
Yes, Michael.
oh, okay, good. I have this microphone right next to my head, so just pulling in a little of these darker shadows back up in there. Keep an eye on to make sure that Becky can. What I may do is just kind of add a little more textural. I'm saying I made that line going across. I don't want to break it up. It's just like a straight line. I want to break that shape up a little bit. So now I want to bring just a hint of this kind of light green back in here. Just to help blend that in a little bit. All right, push that button. Yeah, so what I'm doing is kind of coming in with that light. See if I can. So I mix this kind of permanent green #1 and lemon yellow mix right there. And I'm just adding a little bit more of that in here. Just to help soften some of that down at the bottom. If it doesn't soften, it's okay. But it's kind of adding another layer of that color to help sell this idea that this is grass, shrubby stuff. And I kind of this little shadow thing going on here. I can break up that shape with a little dark. That's just that purple indigo mix, that violet indigo mix. Have a bit of that, and then I'll come back in with that light green. here. That back a little bit. I think that's looking okay. Still too early to judge this. I think I have entered the angry teenager phase where I'm not sure about this painting yet. Let's see. Before I start the sky, I think I want to kind of some of that green here. Just feel like it needs a little bit more of a green tint on top of that. Lends itself a little bit more to the feeling I'm trying to get. Excuse me. Yeah. All right. I think for now I think what I'm gonna do is now flip it around, flip it over, and start the sky. With that, I got kind of have to do this weird trick because well, I have stuff taped to the back of this that I forgot about. And I have to kind of it's I kind of have to stick it over so there's a whole lot of board on this side, but I kind of have to lean over while I'm painting. Make sure that I'm at an angle. So this is where it's a good idea. I think I've mentioned this before, but you definitely want, to have. Just not. Let's try and take it there. You want a bit of an angle on your board for this. So I'm going to just get this wet down this whole part of it. Part of the paper, and if you get a little water over your like mountains or whatever, and they start to bleed into your sky, that's okay. It's not going to hurt anything, and it'll actually add a little bit of atmospheric perspective to it, so it'll help push them back just a little bit. So I'm always kind of happy when I get a Mount Oopsie kind of there. I went overboard and did that. That's okay. That was way too much. Didn't mean to do that. It's all right. It is what it is. But don't panic if something like that happens. Just keep working. You can always come back and clean it up a little bit, sharpen up that edge with some more of that dark green mix. So that's not a big deal. Let me kind of clean off a little space on the palette. So I've got a nice wet surface on my paper, and I can start thinking about what I want this sky to look like. Now, in the photo that we're using, it's somewhat overcast. Well, it's actually pretty overcast, and what's going on is that the clouds are up here and the sun has dipped down and is coming in really low to get that kind of not only evening glow, but in this case, kind of evening with a contrasting kind of dark. So you have this kind of light coming in, and then you have this real dark sky. But we want to start light in our sky, so I'm going to start with a little peacock blue, because that is a nice sky blue. And I'm just going to start putting some paint down and letting it run. You can see it's running, down towards what is really the top of the paper, but currently is the bottom. Just kind of bring that in. This is where the toilet paper comes in handy, or Kleenex. Paper towel sometimes has a pattern in it that will sometimes get transferred to your paper. So I generally don't use paper towel for this, but it's not like it's a big deal. If you get a little bit of pattern in there from the paper towel, it's not going to really hurt anything, because eventually it's not even going to be noticeable. It's one of those things that it's a little weird. So I think I have enough of this peacock blue. And now I want to take my toilet paper roll, and oops, I just set that down now. And I want to get off a good healthy bunch of that, and make myself a patented cloud making tool. And you can see, again, I don't want to bunch it up so it's a little dot that I'm pressing against the paper. I want to use this whole kind of elongated shape. So let's see. I'm going to come in maybe here. And I may have let that dry a little too long, but that's all right. Like so. As we get over here, maybe it's a little lighter. And let's see. Got a cloud shape there. And I'm kind of rotating the Kleenex around, so you can see I've used some in here, and then I kind of folded it around. So I have mostly clean area of, did I call that Kleenex? It is toilet paper. Not that it matters, but I'm kind of getting a clean section each time, so I'm not pressing paint into the paper, because you can kind of bruise your paper that way. All right, so that's kind of, I don't like that shape. There we go. That's kind of interesting. So I like that little bit of dark there. I want to kind of save that. But let's come in. I'm still working in peacock blue right now. Let's see. I'm going to have kind of a cloud shape up here. It's going to get much darker here in a little bit. But right now I'm just kind of coming in with a little more of that. Soften that edge right here close to the part, side of the paper, the edge of the paper. I don't want any sharp lines coming off the And in fact, I'm going to switch from my flat now. I'm going to switch back to, let me use my number 8 round. It's just a little bit easier to get in some of these points and change these shapes up a little bit, make them feel a little more cloud-like instead of whatever that little triangle-y thing's going on there. So I'm going to bring that in. So, and then just kind of that up. Paint. I added more paint in my brush so that on that one side than I realized. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in a little, because this is going to be stormy, I'm going to bring in a little of that violet indigo mix that I have, and maybe even a little royal blue over here, just so that gets starts getting kind of dark over in this corner right now. And then let's see, come back in with a little dark blue over here and kind of see what we can break this shape up. Wasn't super happy with what I did over here, but that's okay. It's all fixable. It's all changeable. 8 gallons of water pouring down on my shirt. Let's bring that in, and then see if I can't. This has got a nice sharp line here, but I don't really want that nice sharp line. So I'm going to just get a clean piece of toilet paper and see if I can't soften that up a bit. Got blue again. And you may be thinking, well, gee, you're just putting those lines back in. And yes, I am to some extent. But my plan is, before it dries, to come in and kind of make that blend in and fuzz out a little bit. So I'm just going to kind of do that. Maybe there's a little bit of a directional thing going on there. And we'll see what happens. Plus, I want to soften this edge. I'm not real crazy about it either. So, I mean, just by softening that, I can come in with a little royal blue back in here, I think, just to darken that, and even some of that indigo violet mix. Not too much yet. I don't want to get too carried away while I'm doing this part, but and I want a little hint of that. Over here, I'm just using what's left in my brush, painting over that real wet area. And I'll come in and kind of lift some of this edge up so that it's not, I had a weird shape there that I didn't care for. So I just want to kind of change that a little bit. Yeah, so let me turn this around. And right now, I could stop here, and it's a fairly sunny, cloudy day, but that's not what I want. So I like what I've got, and it's, you know, it's cool, but I don't think it's quite what I'm looking for. I really want to give that impression of a sunny. Not a sunny, of a stormy sky that's really dark and heavy coming down, and then this light's coming in underneath. So soften that up, like that, and then I'm going to start using a little bit, just watered down, a little bit of that dark that I have up there, but really watered down, and I kind of want to make this feel like maybe the bottom something right in there. Pull that down. And you know, one of the things to keep in mind when painting skies is that it it may not ever look exactly like you want it to, but there's a lot you can do to just kind of make it look interesting. And don't get discouraged right off the bat in doing this, because you know this is I still screw up stuff, and I'm this is 20. What am I in now? 20. Well, you all know I've painted since before I could walk, but as a professional artist, I've been working since 1998, 97. So 24 years, is that? No, 23 years. No, 24 years. Can't do the math. It's too late. It's after 5. Can't do math after 5. Okay, so I want to bring kind of some of this down here as well. Add kind of this kind of bottom of the cloud kind of feel. And this is that purpley gray that I mixed up. It's indigo and quinacridone violet with just a hint of the green, but so little that all it does is really make it just kind of makes it look a little more gray. And as my brush starts to dry out, I can just kind of do some of these little wispy things that look interesting. But that starts to add this kind of dark, underside of the cloud. Add a little more water. And I think you guys are, the concert's over, so feel free to, talk. There are people over there chatting, but if you need to, feel free to ask more questions if you need to. I'm sorry about that whole thing earlier. Yeah, so I'm just kind of pulling in this kind of under there. Makes it look like the bottom side of a cloud. Oh, I guess you guys couldn't hear it as well. Maybe it sure seemed a lot quieter than when they were rehearsing. When I was listening to them rehearse last week, and it must be that kind of divider thing that they put up. It's one of those art those art things that you can hang paintings on at art shows. Fran stores hers down here, and so they borrowed a few of them. They kind of block sound, I guess, a little bit. Okay, so you can see I'm just kind of using the side of my brush somewhat. I'll start off with a fair amount of water and paint in the brush, and then as it starts to dry out, then I just start doing these little wispy things. So this again is that, and I want to pull this in that mountain. So I'm just going to pull that over there. And I'm starting to get that kind of dark look that I want. In this case, this is a little lighter than I want. So I'm going to actually mix up a little more indigo with some Hooker's green. So I'll show you what I'm doing here. So you can see that it looks a fair amount green now. And then what I'll do is come in with a little violet. And that makes this kind of dark, maybe just a bit more indigo. I just wanted a slight bit on the blue side. But with the green and the violet in there, it makes a nice neutral dark. And that looks really dark. And I want to pull that up into here. So, because I want the impression that there's some more clouds above us. So that's what I'm trying to do here. It's just kind of hint at that there's more clouds, and I may even bring in, like, this will still be, I think, a little lighter here. Maybe that across like so. There. And again, this looks like I'm maybe screwing everything up, but trust me, it's all reversible to some extent, and getting me closer to that dark kind of stormy sky that I want. Eventually, I'm going to knock these whites back quite a bit more, but not yet. And I still want some of that peacock blue showing through in some spots. Just bring that over here and soften that whole thing. So, and then I'm going to take that same kind of dark neutral that I mixed, and I'm going to add a little more quinacridone violet to it. So I get that gray violet back in a spot. So that's what I'm working on right here. It's still a little, there we go. It's still a little, oops, you can't see what I'm doing. It was still a little violet. So I'm just pulling more and more of this kind of green mix over there until I get that kind of gray that I want. There and bleed into that. So I'm just using the side of my brush to kind of plop in some color. It's dry, it's quite a bit wetter here, more wet. Yeah, more wet. Paper's more wet here. It's definitely dry over here, which I want that to be fuzzy over here. I want those colors to blend a little bit, and then as I get over here, I can start shaping this kind of shadow. So I can, the fact that the paper's a little more dry over here works to my advantage, and it works to my advantage that it's a little wetter, more wet over there. So it's going to have fuzzier color. And the fact that there's a little bit of light peeking through down here, I like that. I want to keep that. I do want to soften this maybe just a bit over here. It's a little less of a sharp line. And that looks like maybe there's a little bit of rain or something happening back there. It's just kind of fuzzy. Can't really tell. It's really starting to come along. Let's see. I'm going to bring in a little more of this dark up in here where it's really dark. It kind of changed the shape of this, I think. It's bringing some of that violet. Well, it looks like there's a giant bit of white there. That's a glare from the lights. Apologize for that. I don't know. There we go. That did it. What I'm doing is trying to make this cloud, you know, there's a little bit of a light cloud here, but it's kind of in the mid-ground here, but the foreground of the sky is this highest bit, and I'm trying to make that feel like it's over us, like this is part of that shadow, you know, it's cast by the cloud. Violet. And then as we get down in here, I want to soften this. I've got a lot of weird, there we go. I had a lot of weird like shapes, like almost geometric looking shapes that I don't want. So I can just soften that with my brush. And then I have this little bit of toilet paper that I was using. I can find kind of a clean spot and pick some of that back up. So it's just a little bit fuzzier and less sharp. So that's starting to come together pretty nicely. I'm going to let that dry for a second because I want to come in with a little, you know, like high altitude rain, maybe over here, coming down from these clouds that are a little closer to us. But then I also want some coming in over here. So I have to kind of think about that. We want a little bit more. I guess Becky must not, maybe she gave up on trying to log back in.
I'm still here.
Oh, you are? Oh, okay. Well, it looked like you had, I thought you had, I thought I read, I thought it told me that you logged out, or I don't know. Sorry.
I just keep on going in and out because my connection.
Oh, okay. I was worried that you weren't able to get back in, so I was looking to make sure that I let you in if you got kicked out. So that's what sorry about that. Just wanted to make sure you were glad you're still here. Glad you're, these internet connections are something else, aren't they? Mine at the house.
Well, I thought I could use my phone hotspot, but my phone doesn't have a good connection out here either, so my hotspot doesn't work either. So that's
really frustrating. I want this, so I'm adding just more dark down in here and kind of changing the shape of this. I am going to knock this back just a bit, but I have to wait till everything dries. But I also want to make sure I have kind of a shape that I like before I start letting it dry. I can't seem to, if I just do a little. That's kind of something there. I don't know if it's good, but it's something. Okay. Yeah, that I can live with. I like that shape. I don't know for how long I'll like it, but for right now I like it. So I'm gonna let that dry real quick, and I may hit it, since the concert's over, I may hit it with a hairdryer for a second. Let's see. we want to soften that just a skosh right there. There we go. So we'll just dry this a little bit so that I can, so it's not quite as damp. So still damp, but not as dry. I did notice that I have this shape here that I just do not care for. That was just a weird thing. I don't know what that was, but didn't like it, and didn't notice it until I was drying it. So I just decided to wait until it was dry. That way I didn't screw it up even more. So I want to add a little bit, I've got this kind of yellow glow down here. I want to add a little bit of that here. Because I think the clouds would have some of that in there. And it could even be maybe opera as well. So I may start out with a little pink, a little opera. And I'm just going to kind of get a little bit over here on the kind of edge, just so it's a little, it's got a little, okay, so I've got a little opera there. Let me come in with just a hint of permanent yellow deep. If you don't have permanent yellow deep, you could use like Indian yellow or Azo yellow, those kinds of things. I just want to, and this looks like probably too much, but I can come back in here in a second and pick some of that back up so that it's just got that hint of yellow on some of that. Maybe there's a wee bit back up in here. Maybe just a bit of pink too. Maybe there's a wee bit of opera over in here. Well, catching on a few things. I can soften that with a little water. I didn't really have a lot of water in my brush. I just had a bit of the paint. So I want to make sure that I get that softened up a bit, and then I'll come in and add just a hint of this permanent yellow deep again. Maybe just a touch of it over here. Just to kind of give me a little glow in those clouds. It may be a little hard to see. I'm not sure. Let me just kind of zoom in so you can see that a little bit better. But it pulls out the kind of red pinkish hue in this violet, which is kind of nice. That has kind of a little bit of a glow effect going on there, and then I like what's going on here as well. So that's what I did with the yellow and the opera. Oops, totally. Is everybody doing okay, keeping up and whatnot, or you need me to slow down for a second? I'm gonna take it you're doing okay.
I feel like I'm doing the whatnot.
The whatnot.
Yeah.
That's okay. I bet it's better than you think.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm going to switch now to my number 6, and I'm going to bring in a little rain. I feel like that's dried enough, and if it bleeds a little bit, that's okay. That'll just add to the effect. I think. I'm trying to think which direction I want this to go. I kind of think I want it to come back this way, so it pulls you back into here. So I think that's my current thinking. We'll see how once I add some paint how that goes. But I'm going to pick up. I'm adding a little. Here, I'll show you what I'm doing. I've got this violet, this gray violet. It was the the indigo and permanent or quinacridone violet with a touch of green, and I'm just pulling in a little more of the green into it. And I'm going to have some rain coming in from up in here, and I'm just going to ever so lightly put in some strokes here with this brush. Let's see, can you see what I'm doing there? Right now, I'm just putting in a few. I will now clean my brush out, come in and soften some of this. And by softening it, let me get a little more water in my brush. By softening it, I'll pick up some of that paint and I can add like a lighter bit of those lines, a lighter kind of, what's the word I'm trying to, I'm really not able to speak today, apparently. That's a common thing, I think, for me. Dang it, I pushed that button.
Virga.
All right, what happened here? How did I get into that mode? There we go. Let's see, I'm having a little trouble with my little thing that I use to prop my drawing board up. It was at an angle, so I was getting a weird rocking. Still, it's got too much crap underneath it, is what I think. There we go. I think I'm going to have to rearrange my studio. Okay, so I'm going to now come in with a little peacock blue, and as down in here, these little streaks are going to be catching a little more light, so they're going to be less dark. I don't want to go overboard too much. Soften those up in here. Cloud. Maybe I'll pick up a little royal blue. Here. And let that kind of run down into the peacock blue. Makes a nice transition from the slightly darker blue into that lighter peacock blue. Come in. Sure, these are all kind of the same angle, but not really. But close enough. Let's switch back to this dark. Just a little bit of that Yeah, royal blue. Kind of make that slightly brighter. Here we have just a hint of that. Now in a minute, once this is dry, I'm going to come back in here and lift some lighter areas out. So this is just kind of the first little bit. Here that I've done. But up in here, I'm going to lift some light areas where the rain's catching. Because right now it just looks like it's right there, and I want it to come up into this area as well. But I have to wait till that dries, so we'll just go in and lift. That. I think that's a little dark right there, so let's see. So now I want to come over here, and I think for this, I'm just going to use, I want to put a little more rain back here a little farther away. Not like this. Just I think I picked up some ground. You know, we've just got a few little thunderstorm kind of, you know, little breaks where we're too much. You know, where it's raining intermittently in different spots. That's kind of what I'm going for here. Just kind of coming through here, having a little fun. Side of this. Boy, I have two completely different angles. Would have been better off going this way. See if I can fix that. I mean, I know that happens, but it looks a little weird. Soften. And what I want to do actually is lift a little of this guy, possible, because I want this sort of cloudburst to be somewhat between this hill and, you know, this kind of foreground mountain or middle ground mountain, and this one way back. I may not have enough paint on this to soften this as much as I'd like, but in fact, what I may have to do, I may have to switch to a stiffer bristle brush, just to lift a little of that. So I'll show you what I've got here. I've got this, this is actually one of my grandmother's old oil paint brushes. And it's just got a little bit stiffer brush, and this isn't really the one that I really like. I cannot find the one that I really like. I don't know where I put it. It's got super short. But I'm just going to kind of use this. You could use your toothbrush. I'm just going to gently scrub this though. break up this line of this mountain. And I'm not even going to make it go away 100%. Let's see. I'm just going to, excuse me, lighten it a bit. So it'll still be there. It's not as much. It's not as much as it was. So I'm just lightening it ever so slightly, but you can still see it's there. And I can come back in once this is dry. Rework these. The angle of this ring, kind of screwed up. But the nice thing, if you're using really good paper, like Arches, or Fabriano, or something like that, your paper can take a fair amount of abuse. And I'm going to put some rain up in here too. Sometimes I'll even take this brush, kind of spread out the bristles a little bit and pick up a little paint with it, even though it's kind of well, it's made for oil paints. And it does some nice kind of textural stuff. You can see this down so you can see it a little better. But it's a nice little brush for that. It gives me a nice texture to that. A little more on it. Blue, green. So that was the violet that I was using there. But you can see that makes a kind of an interesting, that I can then come back with my, my round brush, soften some areas. It just starts to add that kind of rainy texture. Royal blue right there. Soften it back out. Felt like I had this dark line there, which I did. Just straight across the top. Break that up. Stuff, yeah. Get that line there. Come back in over here. Where I'm kind of doing this kind of scribbly thing, that just gives me that kind of cloud texture. I have a slightly darker bit of cloud on top of the side. That up into there. Some of that. Back up. Yeah. So let me come back over here and kind of fiddle with this. I'm just switching between that kind of green and violet right here. And then as I get a little lower, I can pull in a little peacock blue. Could even do this, get a little bit, maybe there's a little bit of light being caught on this green. So I can come in with a little of my permanent yellow heat, add a little bit of color variation in there. Maybe instead of that, maybe I want to use a little scarlet blue. Some days I get it, some days I don't like the scarlet blue color. Should have stuck with my original thought, which was go to the peacock. I mean, go to the opera. I got distracted by Scarlet Lake. And the fact that this is more than just little strippy, little stripes is fine because it gives that kind of haze. I've got that stripe texture below it. That's better. I like the opera better than the Scarlet Lake. But the fact that it's a little blurry just adds to that sort of cloudburst kind of thing going on. So there's a good, nice cloudburst coming in off of this. I think I'm going to darken this a bit more there to soften it. And of course, that's way too dark now. So at the top, it's too dark. So I want to add water to kind of blend that out. That gives us that kind of, there we go. A good cloudburst coming off of that. Let's go into some of this stuff here. We're just adding more little shadows to the underside. Of our cloud here. And for that, what I did was I took that violet mix that I had here and that green indigo mix that I had here, and I kind of pushed them together, and I got this kind of nice dark gray, almost a Payne's gray. So if you have Payne's gray, you could use that. Nothing wrong with that. Oh, dang it. I keep pushing that button. Ugh. Sorry about that. Getting used to this new phone. They moved the button down just a skosh versus where it was on my old phone. Basically what I'm working on now is kind of flattening out the bottom of this cloud. I'm going to come back. Don't think I've forgotten this. I'm going to come back and deal with that in a second. But I'm just kind of widening this cloud and flattening out the bottom. And then let's come in water and soften that because we don't want that sharpened. So that kind of, I like that. Okay. What I think what I want to do is come in with a little opera back up in here as well, just to add a little bit of that color. I already had that kind of gold in there. I may want to pull some more of that gold this way too. It's feeling like it's just kind of a blob right there. Just want to add a little more of that opera in there as well.
I want to be done.
darker little streaks of rain. I'm gonna blame the brush, but it's really not the brush, it's the operator of the brush. So just a bit darker things, you know, streaks of rain in there. And then I'll probably, I'm gonna bring a little opera into that as well. Just a little bit here and there. I'll soften some of that and really knock that back a bit, because right now it's a little jarring and too much.
Good.
But just kind of soften it so that I lighten it as well. Yeah, that starts to kind of look like how fuzzy the sky gets when you see a cloudburst over in the distance. So I want to soften that and fuzz that out a bit more. Really, I feel like it needs to come over this way more too. More of this over into here. Soften that. And don't feel bad if you're not, you know, if your rain's not looking quite the way. There are days when I can get this, and there are days when I struggle with it. There are days when I'm really happy with what I've done, and then today I'm not sure I care for what I'm doing. But let's see. Not terrible, not great. Although we're all our own worst critics, so don't don't listen to the voices in your head too much.
Good advice.
Because inner monologue will mess you up sometimes. Okay, so let me dry that, and then I'm going to lift out a few little spots in here. I also feel like maybe I need some rain right there. Like maybe this cloud burst is bigger. So I'm going to just put a little more of this over here. It's still behind this hill or mountain. You know, it's still kind of between this peak and that peak. So I have to be a little careful with what I do. It's just kind of not really care for that Soften that back out. And then let's bring in maybe a little peacock blue over here for some of this. Start with. Soften this upper part. Some of this kind of fuzz out. It's a bit fuzzier. Let's see here. See kind of what I've done. Really not that complicated, but I feel like maybe that helped a little bit. Just adding that little bit of peacock blue. I might come over here and add. This is kind of weird over here. Just add a little more of this kind of dark violet mix. I don't know if I like that. I think what I'm going to do is just soften that so it's a bit more fuzzy, kind of hazy. Like, oh, there's some rain over there in the distance, but you can't really tell that's what's going on. And I think that this needs a little bit of that. I'm going to come in. I'm going to try a little opera up in here just to soften. Some color. And really, I think what's bothering me is I've got this dark here. I think it needs this line here. I think I need to lose some of that from this closer cloud burst. Maybe that's got that. Let me try to lift some of that back. And then what I'll do is come back in with a few. That's still kind of damp, so this should bleed a little bit, which I kind of want. Come back in and really soften this. Now that kind of looks like a mess, but it'll read like rain here eventually. And eventually I'm going to be able to lift some of that out. I want to come over here and maybe get a little, I don't know if I have enough. These streaks may be too big. I'll have to come back in and add a little paint to them, or they may not show up at all. Couldn't quite tell. It's a little hard to see. I'm gonna go make another go at that. I got one that's kind of right there. And again, if I don't like the shape of this, I can just go back over it with. Sorry, my brush is in my mouth. I can just go back over it with color again. But yeah, you can start to see. Dang it, kind of quick. All right, where did you go? You can see I've lifted it out there. Now, obviously, those are too big and not random enough, so I want to do a couple more smaller ones. And then I'll come back in and make those smaller too. Just put this back up in here. And then what I can do is just like, you know, when we're doing like ruts in a road or whatever, or things in a, you know, we're lifting stuff out in a barn, you know, sometimes we get these lines that are too long or too wide, I mean, and we have to kind of come back in. We break them up, turn them into multiple lines, or just thin them down. I don't know what's going on there. I'm just kind of, and you know, don't be afraid to try to experiment with that. Yeah, this is feeling kind of like it needs to spread out a little bit. Shape of that. So now I have those lighter, it's a little hard to see. Let me zoom back in on that. Or just where I'm holding the camera. And you can see where I've lifted some of those out. I can even come back in where it's lighter down in here and kind of create another. All kind of feels like it's lined up with another one. Plan that out. So I can add this here. Just soften that. Soften on this side. And there it looks like I lifted out a little bit, but didn't. The shape of these a little bit. Soft over here. Just today, I don't know what it is. I'm just not caring for what I'm. Yeah, that's not too terrible. I'm not too. I'll tell you what I don't like is this little light spot that I put there. So I'm just going to cover it up entirely. It was too close to the edge of the paper, so I'm just going to come in a little bit more. This starts giving a little fuzz, rain haze kind of going over here. Just by side of my brush and then a few little well-placed strokes with the point of the brush. Yeah.
Hi.
So I don't know if this sky is working out the way I like it. You know, what I've got here is somehow I ended up with a, look at this. I've got this little arch going across there. So I need to get rid of a couple of these and change the height of some of them. So I'm going to bring that one down there. Somehow you know, and this is just the way we try to be random, but we're not really good at it. always come up with some sort of thing. So, I mean, I had this thing that was going just like that, and it was kind of annoying. So, but there, I fixed that a little bit.
Oh, hi, Toby. Oh, hi, Toby.
That's not quite dry yet. So. That's all right. I may just leave that and not worry about that too much. I think I'm just going to live with it for a little bit. But you can start to see that I'm starting to get, I'm getting that whoa. Man.
Oh, thank you. That one.
I'm starting to get that kind of dark feel up here, and I've got that sun coming in here. What I may want to do here is actually hit this with just a bit of that permanent yellow deep in here, just to give it a little bit more of a glow. Some of that will get covered up later with that blue spray, but that's okay. Maybe I want to add just a hint of it on some of this. So maybe there's just a bit of this that's getting lit up by that, maybe just a bit too much, but some of this would be getting that kind of glow that we're going for. So I'm just adding a little bit of this on top of our light, so it gives it that kind of yellow gold kind of glow. Yeah, these. I don't know if I like that.
Either.
So, just a little bit of glow.
Gray.
And what I do think I need are just a bit of hints of shadows back up in here from stuff. So I'm just going to kind of come in with a little of that dark red and add a few little kind of shadows coming off of stuff back in here. Something.
Oh, boy.
But it just kind of adds to that. Yeah. Like that. I needed something just a little bit thick of that peacock blue up. Much, but just to help kind of tie that in. Yeah. Now, this painting, I would probably, before I said this was done, I would probably live with it for a while and see what else I need to do. Like, I definitely wouldn't mind spritzing a little water and adding a little texture down in here, or using, doing the scribbly, let's see, where, like, if this is my paper, where I just kind of do this kind of thing. In this case, I'm going to use my my spritz bottle, but if you don't have one, then don't, you can use your toothbrush. And I'm just going to add a little texture back into this here. And I may even do a little scribbly thing with my brush as well. So I'm just going to pick that up. Pick that up. Yeah, it starts to add a little texture in there. Let me do a little bit of brush. It's hard to see. You hold the camera over here. So I'm just holding the brush straight up and making these kind of fake calligraphy kind of marks throughout this. You've seen me do this before, but here.
Your camera's off.
I know, I'm trying to get it.
Okay.
I'm trying to get it back on. Sorry. May have waited too long because I accidentally clicked that dang button. Yeah. That's all right. See, so I've made this really big mush thing there. But that gives me an opportunity to come back in with some of that dark and make something out of it. So I can just kind of come in and break that shape up. That now is kind of a more interesting shape than it was, just by adding a little bit of dark back in here. Going on there. Maybe I want a little more of that kind of going on over here, so we'll just like that.
Might want to move your picture up a little bit.
Say that again.
Move it up so we can see what you're doing.
Yeah, I'm just adding texture by.
Well, that didn't work so good.
Just doing little random bits of stuff down in here. It's just hard to do this with one hand holding the camera and the other hand because my board moved. Lifted a little bit out there. I got a little spritz of water there. If you don't have a spray bottle, use your toothbrush. Use that old toothbrush. Where's mine go? You can, do this kind of thing with it, or hit it against your finger like this. And doing this gets you a little bit finer size spray pattern. Hitting it against your finger, tapping it against your finger like that gives you a bigger dot pattern, kind of like this. But that's all ways of making these kind of interesting light and dark shape areas. Kind of feel like maybe need a little bit of a lighter area here, like maybe just a bit of light is hitting the bottom part of this mountain here. So I just painted a little water on there. That's all that is. I'll let it set for a second and then I'll wipe it up. Yeah, see, so I got a nice light, but that's a bit too much. So now I want to come in and just bring that down, back down just a skosh, but it'll, once this dries, it'll be quite a bit lighter than it was. And that just gives me a little texture right there, a little more interest on that side of that mountain. Bless you. So, yeah. I think that's coming together nicely. And I think, you know, I will probably come in with that fine mist blue around the edge here and see if I can't. In fact, let's go ahead and do that. Let me try this real quick just in case. Yeah, you can see that added a nice little lighter texture right there. Broke that big dark shape up quite a bit without you know, doing too much. Let me zoom in on that for you real quick. Yeah, you can see that a little bit better. So real quick, let's see if I can't. My stuff, this called? My tripod thing is where the little grabby thing for the phone is starting to wear out. Oh, maybe I was loosening it instead of tightening. So I'm just gonna do a couple spritzes going, and we'll see. Yeah, that'll help over there. That kind of darkens that up a bit. And it'll help over here on this side as well. I really start to get that you know, that okay. So I really start to get that feel like there's this light coming in low and hitting right in here, and that starts to pull your eye. Let me just that starts to really pull your eye in here that way. Just and that's just that regular spray bottle with the I can't remember. Usually I use cobalt blue. I think I've got. Can't remember what I put in there. Prussian blue or something. Yeah, I think it's Prussian or Antwerp blue. Antwerp blue, I think, is what I used, just because I was out at Cobalt and I hadn't been able to order anymore. A lot going on there, so I can just. But see how that really starts to feel like I got that light coming in real low. Even though I spritzed over some of this, I still have that texture in here. You can see. Let me zoom in on that. You know, you can still see the texture in there, but it's muted. It's a little more muted all on here. So it's there, and it's interesting, but it's not so interesting that it's pulling my eye on it. Really what I'm doing is I'm coming along here, and then I'm hitting this stuff, and I'm coming up there. Oh, one last thing I do need to is that this little bit. Let me just hit this little fire right here. I want to add that wire, fence wire. Real quick. I'm just going to come in with that dark green, blue, purple color that kind of makes a dark gray black. Go. Going. And we'll just kind of got a little wire going across there. That was really kind of wrap it around this post a few times. Wrap it around that one a few times. And maybe I've got a little piece of wire coming off here. Goody thing coming off there. There's another little piece right there. Wrapped around a couple times. The fence builder wasn't very good, I don't think. They haven't been back to fix this fence in a long time. Okay, but that makes it more interesting. So there, I've got that little bit of wire just to help sell that idea of that being a fence. And I think I'm pretty happy with that. I may put, I made this a little darker. I may make this just a bit darker over here. Just hit that a little bit more. Now you can see I got some little blobs of blue over in here, but if I'm quick, I can just pick those up with Kleenex. Even this one that's a little big right there. That up. I think that's working. You want a bit more of that post to be, so it's not light coming up to the post and then dark on the other side of the post. There we go. But now it's got it, it kind of fades into that dark. And I'm happy with it. Yeah. So there we go. I don't think that turned out too shabby. Whoa, hey, it's 9 o'clock. Shall we look at y'all's work? Let me just dry this real quick so there's not a glare on it. Wait, I was having so much fun painting, time just kind of flew by. Even when I was frustrated up here.
Oh,
I think that's okay. Let me get this over here.
I'm not going to show you mine. I'm not going to show you mine, but don't forget to send me the videos.
Oh yeah, no,
Becky.
I won't. And all the links from class so far are in that same email, so you should be able to see all of them. I don't know why you weren't getting them. That's weird. I haven't quite figured that out yet, but yeah, I will definitely do that.
oh, going back to the rocks on the hills,
Uh-huh.
lighten those somewhat.
Did I lighten this up?
The rocks on the mountains, did you lighten them?
Oh, here? No, I actually darkened them, but when this super dark was put next to it, it still looks really light.
Okay, because mine's too dark. Okay.
Yours are darker than that, and that's okay. I'm still debating on whether those should be a little bit darker than they are. So I'm kind of going back and forth on that. I haven't quite figured out if I like that or not.
Okay. Well, I'm not going to show mine because my mountains are not done.
Okay. Well, at any point you can send me a picture of it and I'll look at it. And,
Okay. All right. A good night, Mike.
Okay, good night. Anybody
Good
else?
night. Yeah, you can look at mine, but it's.
Tommy's got his up. I'll grab.
great. Go
I'll
ahead,
grab Tommy's
Tommy.
first. Oops, wait. Let me get rid of. There we go. And then then I'll get yours, Kathy. What am I looking for here? Screenshot. And, pull it back just a skosh. Right about There, that's good. Hold it right there and got it.
Looks really good, Tommy.
Yeah, it does. Okay, so let me close that, open that, open. All right. Let me get this. I suddenly have the hiccups. Okay, so let me. What am I doing? I'm not scaring the screen. I'm sharing the screen. And share. Oh yeah. This is really nice, Tommy. I
was about to give up on the sky until you started drawing rain, and then I got inspired.
Yeah, no, I like how that. You've got this all feels like, and I think you worked at it. It looks like you had to work at it less than I did, because I really like what you've done there. It feels very much like rain. Yeah, I like that. It's nice. This looks like a nice, cloudburst coming in there, and then up in here. Mine, I feel, is maybe slightly overworked, where yours looks almost perfect. In that regard. So yeah, that's nice. I like it. I like how this light's coming in here. You've got this thing here, the fence and this kind of foreground shadow, to kind of it kind of pulls you back up into here, and then this stuff pulls you back down and brings you into kind of right in here. I like that.
What about this right here?
What's that?
I don't know if you can see my cursor, but
oh no, I can't.
It's there's a really, really white area in the sky on the right side.
Sky on the right side, right here.
Yeah, right there.
It is kind of close to the edge of the paper, so you could come back in with just a little bit of water and see if you can't soften some of this dark. You'll still have that nice shape there, but if you soften some of that dark, you could pull some of that over and
yeah. I couldn't decide if I liked it or not. I mean, it was just it's the brightest piece on the whole piece of paper.
Yeah, I mean, I like it. I think I wish it were probably somewhere over here, but because it is kind of close to the edge of the painting, it has a tendency to kind of pull your eye over there. So I think if you just knocked it, I like the light there. I wouldn't get rid of this light shape. All I would do is just knock it back with a little bit of a light wash over the top of it. It'll still be there, just not quite as powerful.
Okay.
Because I like that bit of light right there. I just think it might be just a bit too much.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's really all I think of that. And I mean, it's not terrible. It's not terrible. That sounds bad. It's not, so it's not so overpowering that it really, really bothers me. But
well, I didn't even notice it until I set it 20 feet away, and then it jumped right out at me.
Yeah. Well, I didn't notice it until you really pointed it out to me. But now that I see it, I'm like, yeah, it might be a little bright. So just knocking it back just slightly will, I think, help. But I love the texture you've got going on in here. This is really nice. Good job. Yeah, this is cool.
Okay, thanks.
Let's see. Who was next? Kathy did.
Me?
Yeah. Let's let's all right. Get this back open. And hold on right there and got it. That, you know what, Kathy, you were making it sound like that was terrible, but
Well,
that looks really nice. So let me bring it up on the screen here.
I don't like the sky, but it's just gonna have to be.
You know, I don't think the sky's that bad. I think what it might be is you have these three kind of dark parts of a cloud, but then I might just add a little more darkness like here underneath this cloud. And maybe just a bit up in here or something. Just take just a little bit. It doesn't even have to be much. Just kind of hint at a little darkness here and a little more dark there and there. And actually maybe just pick, you know, maybe this is one, you know, that kind of comes across to there. I don't know if I'd come all the way over there. You know, just a little bit there and a little bit there. And I think that might help. And then I might make this, you know, you have a pretty dark corner right here. I might just, it looks like you have royal blue there or something. Is that what that is? In the upper left-hand corner?
I'm not sure.
Well, whatever that blue is, pull a little bit over here. And kind of, that'll help balance. I think it'll just help balance that sky out a little bit. But this is nice. I like what you did with the tree. That's nice.
Thank you.
Yeah, all of this is looking really nice. You know, and one of the things that I really like about watercolor is, you know, no two watercolors look the same. So no matter what you do, you get differences. We can all sit there and paint the same thing, and they're all going to look slightly different. They'll look similar, but excuse me, but they'll all be slightly different.
Yeah.
But I like what you've got going on here. Yeah, maybe come in and add just a few, you know, a little bit more of these nice darks that you've got down in here. Just a few, I'm trying to say a few and a little bit. Just a few more, bless you. Just a few more, you know, like in a few spots. And get some of this nice dark, so you get a little more contrast in some of this. But other than that, I think this is looking really, really nice. Really well done. I might lengthen the shadow from this tree. I might actually pull this shadow off the page.
Okay.
Just because, you know, if this is coming in a little bit lower, it'd probably be coming in at that angle. So really, if you think about it, the shadow might even be cast almost out to this, you know, out to here somewhere.
Okay.
But yeah, I think, but it's nice. I really lovely job.
Oh, thank you.
And
I need a class on clouds.
On clouds?
Yeah.
All right, we can do that again. Yeah, we can do that. We can work on skies again, on clouds and stuff. We can just do a whole slew of different skies. Because you can always take those paintings and turn them into something. Even if you just have a sky.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, nicely done though. I think your sky is much better than you think.
Okay.
Yeah. I think I would just have a little bit more dark here, and maybe just, and this shape could even, I'm just gonna do a terrible job of drawing. Let me change the
I think
brush
it's a
size.
great sky.
Yeah, I think it is. Just a little, maybe make this dark. And this is just black, and it's a terrible.
Mhm.
Again, I'm much better at painting. Maybe break up that shape so it's like that or something. That's terrible. Don't paint it exactly like that, but you get the idea.
Yeah. I had a hard time on that side, just right where you're drawing.
Over in here.
No, well,
Oh,
that
up
could
here?
be too, but right there, yeah.
Yeah. I don't know, something like that. Maybe not that shape. I don't know, but just a little bit more. But don't, obviously not as dark as this. Just take it as dark as what you've got going on in here.
Mhm.
I should have
Okay.
probably just sampled that color so I could have used the same color, but and of course I didn't do it on another layer, so I can't do this without undoing everything. But
Yeah.
but I think
Sounds good.
I love your sky. I think it's wonderful.
Yeah, it's really nice. I think all it needs is just a hint of a slightly darker color in a few spots,
Okay.
but not much. Don't go overboard.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Good job. Yeah, I think you're I think it looks way better than I think you're being too hard on yourself.
Okay. Well, all right.
Michael, you just keep painting and painting and painting on your skies, and I'm like, I can't put any more paint on the paper.
Oh yeah. Well, this one I may have overworked. I may try this painting again. And
they turn out great. I just put my brush down and I'm waiting.
Anybody else want to have me look at your painting? If not, we can sign off, and I'll try and get. I'm gonna see what my day looks like. I like it when I can get it uploaded to YouTube way in advance of Thursday. So I'm gonna try and do that again. Glasses had a big.
Yeah, that sounds good. Then we can make or draw the picture.
Yeah. And so I'll try and get you guys. Yeah, we'll have something ready to go.
Okay.
Michael, I won't be here next Monday.
Oh, you won't?
No, I'm headed to Texas. I gotta go see my dad.
Oh, okay. Well, have a good trip.
Have fun.
Yeah, and I'll have the video. So.
Okay.
So, all right. Well, everybody, have a good week and weekend, and we'll see you next Monday.
All right. Thanks.
See you guys.
Bye.
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 Bye.